worship is a word that we're actually familiar with in our culture. Worship isn't just a Christian thing. People worship other people and things all the time, usually celebrities or people we idolize. Yet, in spite of this, worship often changes in definition when it's applied to a Christian context. So let's look at how this is often done and look at how we can find the common ground between the two. To give an example of this, I one time asked a group of Christian peers how we worship God, to which they replied along the lines of singing, clapping, and dancing. This is because most Christians think of worship as only being the time of singing that churches have before the rest of their service. Yet when I asked that same group how people worship celebrities, they gave a lot more answers, including things such as talking about them all the time, going to them for advice, reading their books, and brushing off other responsibilities to spend time with them. What many Christians don't realize is that worshiping God should work in the same way as worshiping anybody else. If you look at the raw definition of the word worship, it simply has to do with honoring someone through your words and actions. That's what worshiping God should look like too, lifting up His name through the things we do and say. Take, for instance, an athlete who wins a game, or a famous actor who wins an award. When they're giving a speech afterwards, they sometimes talk about how they wouldn't be who they are today if not for the impact God had on their life, and they thank Him publicly for what He's done for them. That's what worship looks like. It's lifting up God's name and giving Him the glory that He deserves. So if that's what it looks like in public, then what does it look like in private? Well, it actually looks very much the same. Think of someone who's been a major influence in your life. Now imagine you're sitting down with that person, just the two of you, and you begin to tell them about how thankful you are for all the times they've been there for you, and how much of an impact they've had on your life. You're still honoring or worshiping them, it's just being done in a more intimate setting. So then, how did we get from this concept of worship to the singing that is done in churches today? For the most part, it's the exact same thing, just being done through music by many people at the same time, instead of just one person speaking. It's a time for everybody to lift up God's name publicly, and it just sounds a lot nicer when everybody is saying the same thing so it's not a jumbled mess, and when it's being sung instead of spoken so it doesn't sound like a group of weird brainwashed robots. However, there has been a shift taking place in most churches that is concerning to me. There are a lot more songs being sung during the worship time that is more about the person singing it than about honoring God. These songs are also referred to as worship just because they're sung at church, when in fact it would be more accurate to refer to these songs as songs of thanksgiving and prayer, or songs of requests and cries for help. These songs definitely have a place in the church at the appropriate times, but I think it's important for people to not mistake them as worshiping God, or else we run the risk of not worshiping God in church at all because we're too busy singing about ourselves. Either way, worship should be an important part of our life, both publicly and privately. The closer you grow to God, the more you realize how much He does for you and how great and deserving of worship He is. Let's make sure that we don't neglect this area of our lives, and also be vigilant in not allowing ourselves to twist worship into something that is no longer honoring God. If you want more information about anything I've said, or have a question or comment for me about this or any other topic, remember that you can always email me at sermoninthepocket@gmail.com. And if you like what I'm doing and want to support this podcast, I also have a Patreon by the same title, Sermon in the Pocket. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and have a wonderful day.